Hello and welcome to Martini's Eco and Country Bites here on Edge Radio Australia. Today I'm having quite a serious and in-depth conversation with the one and only Bronwyn Holmes, who is an extraordinary woman. Not only is she the owner, creator, well, not creator, but the custodian, I guess, of the beautiful earth food product, which is microbes that heal the soil and the land and bring back nutrient dense food back onto our plates. And she does it in the most beautiful, integrated way and mentors people. But not only that, is she an incredible mentor and person to discuss lots of world issues that are all interconnected, that she's incredibly knowledgeable about. And today we're going to be having a conversation about digital ID and the impact on landowners. Bron, welcome to my show today.
Hello, Martine, and hello, everyone.
um, Digital ID has been something that's kind of really kicking off in a lot of places. It's sort of kind of simmered down. There's a few things that are more upfront in people's faces at the moment, but certainly digital ID is one that's still simmering on the back burner. They're waiting to bring it forward, and knowing how that connects is so important. And I know that the way that you can frame this up for many people who are landowners is really, really important, Bron. So, in that, why would landowners and food producers be concerned about digital ID?
Well, this is a big topic. It's not just for farmers, it's everybody. But today I wanted to point out some things for farmers, because I think farmers don't actually get the whole idea. They think, oh, yes, it's
Mm,
just a couple of lines on your face for, government departments, or just need to just align with what's going on. But here's the thing. Everything, according to what we know right now, will be according to your identity.
mm,
So you need to prove that you are the owner. You need to prove that you're that person. You need to prove that you own your property.
mm.
Remember now that a lot of properties are not titled, they're coded. So now you have to prove you own that code. What
Wow.
happened in Vietnam this last week was some huge volume of number of bank accounts were literally frozen because people had to prove who they were to be able to get their money, access that account. Many people refused to do it, and that's what happened. So I don't know how it's going to turn out over there right now, but it's a bit of a shizzle. And but for here, landowners, going back to this, you need a digital ID that links you to your
Mm,
property, an essential database. Every
mm.
decision that you are making from your farm will be selling, subdividing, even passing it on to your kids. There'll be something to do with that as well. Inheritance. It'll all will require digital compliance. Now, for
It's a
growers,
wow.
every seed, every fertilizer, water allocation, use of certain machinery will be tied to your ID. No ID, no access. The bottom
Wow.
line is you're losing your autonomy. That's the bottom line. Your land and your food decisions are no longer yours. They're conditional.
So when we're looking at this, Bron, what we can see is that it's coming into the age of where they're trying to fully capture and control the straw man, which is the all caps identity, not the living man, which is under our constitution. So we're coming really away from constitutional law in every way, shape, or form into a digital being. So a virtual presence, and taking us away from everything that is innate in our divine essence. I've said this a lot of times, that more and more that this dystopian dream is attacking everything that's natural, beautiful, and what we're intrinsically born with, and what we're here to be as creative, free living beings. And this digital ID is how it's all connected. And you're absolutely over the mark and totally on the money about this one, because it is about money control. Because without having access to money, your life will come to a grinding halt, because their ultimate game is to have you so controlled that you can't move, you can't conduct yourself with any business, can't do anything, access your money without all of this digital ID. Is that how you see it too, Bron?
That's exactly how it's going to be. And that's not just for farmers, it'll be for everyone. What's happening in the UK at the moment is that the UK farmers are being pushed into this digital ID farming passes. So this is
Mm.
tied to subtitles, sales, and market
Mm-hmm.
access. The non-compliance means that you can't trade, you can't sell your stock, you cannot pass the food from over your farm gate. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's
It also means that
absolutely pure evil.
you might have the best crop of all time and the most healthiest of land, but you won't be able to trade with what you've got on it. It is a blueprint for global rollout. This is happening across the world. We will all be in this bucket by 2030. Well, so they think. I'm actually a
Mm.
believer that people will say, no, thanks, that's not for me. And stick to your guns. Look, honestly, I really feel that
Yeah.
there is so much noise now coming out of the big tech companies, and they are the
Mm.
first ones to have their feet nailed to the floor.
Mm.
I really feel that sometimes we need a bit of a shock like this to actually think, well, hang on, what is actually really happening in our lives? The detail is important. They say the devil is in the detail. Well, I've got to tell
Mm.
you, the more you know and the little increment parts of it, the more you can modify what you're doing to be able to maybe escape
Navigate
the
around.
stress of it all
Mm.
and even protect your farm, your kids' future, the legacies, protect your seeds, protect and build up your own database of salespeople.
Mm.
Now,
It's not a
I walk.
so it's not about privacy. It's not about actually assisting us at all. It's an entire control mechanism. Let's call it for what it is, right? It's in every way trying to control what can be put in your mouth, not just what gets put in your mouth. It's actually who will grow the food too, right? From what you're saying, because this is talking about controlling food growers. So of course you've got Bill Gates buying up millions and millions of acres around the planet, who is planning to have his own type of food. I mean, we know that he's got his fingers in this pot for sure.
Exactly. Look, the whole idea of these big global and globalist plans really is
Mm.
to, I'm sorry to say, get rid of the farmers, get rid of small business,
Hmm.
put everybody into government jobs, put everybody on a universal living payment plan.
Basic
Uh,
income, yeah.
Look, I've just unearthed a CSIRO paper, and it's where CSIRO have partnered with the US military for gene driving. Now, this is to make sure that everything that's being used in the future in farming is actually owned, patented by some corporation, and it will bleed across
Yeah.
everything. And this corporation will demand that you have a digital ID. Now, I want to point out one thing. Now, listen up, farmers. Please listen.
Mm. Turn
Digital
them on.
ID is, yep, is voluntary. In the act, I read the whole 182 pages. It says it is voluntary 13 times, and in section 74 it states that it is voluntary for individuals and directors of companies. Now, we all had to move into that as directors of companies, and farmers are those, And we were pushed into that not that long ago, possibly 18 months ago. And if you didn't do it, you would have been given a, $10,000, $17,000 fine. Well, I don't know about you, Martine. I did not ever, ever, ever meet a person who got that fine, because it's not you will get, it's you can. Can doesn't mean you will. So it's just devil in the detail, remember? Now, if the act is it's voluntary, how can we get mixed up in this? Because just like when we had COVID, it was actually voluntary to take on the jab, right? Everybody knows that. So who enforced it? It was corporations. The first one was Qantas in Australia. You couldn't fly, you couldn't work in there. And everybody said, oh dear, what's happening here? Well, who's going to enforce it this time? It's the corporations. Now, the corporations don't own you. We're going to look at how you can opt out of it, out of this world that's run by corporations. And for a farmer, that's a pretty heavy-handed slap, because the corporations now own your seed. And we are having a seed shortage. We're having a medical supply shortage, particularly if you're on blood pressure medication. In fact, if you are, I would suggest grab your scripts, get as many boxes and bottles of whatever it is you need to get ASAP. Also, get a lot of potassium. Now, potassium is a mineral that comes from the ground, but the food we're eating does not have that. So those two things, if you've got heart problems, you need to get that, and lots of magnesium. Fill up a cupboard. I don't care what you do. Should that door shut for a small time, like 6 weeks, what have you got in the cupboard to tie you over? So these are the points. Now, these things are also part of this control. In the future, you may not be able to get your medication if you don't have a digital ID based on a Visor-owned pharmacy. Who knows? My point is, let's be resilient, let's be clever, let's think about all the things that we have that are tied up to huge corporations. Do you have big machinery that's being leased? Do you have $1.2 million of herbicide that you need every year? Do you need $1.4 million of a insecticide that you've got to cart around that massive house on wheels just for the sheer weight on your broad acre? You know what I'm talking about. So
It's tying it all together.
so you need to start thinking, okay, if I stay with the cartels just put you in a repeat business model. They know perfectly well, if you don't have those nitrifying living soils in the market into the ground, you will need insecticide and herbicide, and it's part of the process. It's a repeat business model. But if you want to make changes, start sneaking across, start making part of your farm biological, botanically grown. You don't need a digital ID for that. I can tell you now, we will never do it.
Bron, you said it's already started in the UK, correct? So it's started in the UK. Correct. Are there any other nations that you know that this is also being rolled out at the same time?
No, I don't know any off the top, but I know that the non-compliance is part of this programming where they're starting to push people into corners. We also have the biosecurity preventative treatments that are going all over from state to state. And we have sanitized news. So in Perth, you don't really know what's happening in Byron Bay. Byron Bay wouldn't know what's happening in Townsville, and they wouldn't know what's happening down in Cheltenham, for all I know. It's just a very covert operation the whole time. I would like to think that we could start putting out more information so that people can get to know what is happening. And these biosecurity preventative treatments are literally designed to Well,
nature.
it's actually designed to kill as much as the real life as possible, because
Totally.
everything that is wanting to, corporations are now owning everything by GMO. Now, this CSIRO plan that I was just talking about is to own, patent Mother Nature. That's why we have GMO seeds. That's why we have these preventative programs, which, by the way, a lot of them do not have a proper reporting profile on the application of the poison by the corporation. There's no one reporting to an authority at all. And these permits that get waved under farmers' noses or homesteaders or wherever you are, you know, they have these pieces
Yeah.
of paper and they
Hobby
wave them
farms.
under your nose. We've
Anyway.
got the permit to do this.
Yeah.
You know, this has to stop. And one of the persons who had highlighted so much to me was Rod Cullerton, when he was able to
Good on you,
return
Rod.
a farmer in a landslide win in Western Australia. This farmer, after 2 years fighting a land grab, was able to turn the key on his gate and walk in the door of home. The people who manhandled him are now up for assault. Assault is a criminal charge. This criminal charge is a real thing. There's a lot of talk right now, all these people who are quite happy to participate in the programs of putting these poisons, whatever it may be, all over Australia in different capacities, from chicken disease to tomato virus to fire ant poisoning to electric ant poisoning to shot borer to fruit fly, blah, blah, blah. You've all heard them all before. There's heaps of them, and all of these are fixed with a poison. That's actually poisoning the real native flora and fauna of Australia from one side to the other to the other. And us. So many
These
people
people
now are
can't have
reporting.
souls. People see this all the time and they're saying, but no, they wouldn't do it. It's like you're comparing yourself as a loving human being to people that have sold their souls to this mentality of this corporate control system. And it's hard to, once people have the comprehension that, oh my gosh, yes, I can see what you're talking about, but it's that you have to scratch the surface for people. But and that's why I think that these conversations are so vital, Bron, because like you said, it's farmers that are the ones that have been absolutely taken to the cleaners on this, all of it. I've even said to all of my family members, for the love of God, do not use the RFID chips, because the RFID chips are part of this control system that it's all tied in together. And this is a part of what we've been saying now. It's like they're forcing their industries off the land. So they're getting rid of the sheep here in WA. They're now trying to get rid of our cattle. The thing is that they're forcing farmers to the wall so that they're having to be basically land hosts to renewables that are destroying their land, contaminate it.
Yep.
So this is all part of the plan. So let's contaminate your land. And then what will happen is those animals that are RFID chipped, well, your land will be announced that it's contaminated, and you will not be able to sell any of your stock for food or consumption from human beings, probably no consumption whatsoever. And what are they going to do? They can shoot them from the air, because they were doing that with the Brumbies, right?
That's right. Just something else in all of that is that where was I? I watched I think it was an ABC Insights program. One of those, I don't think it was Landline, but it was one of those newsy type ones. And this reporter was saying that one of those large trees that you normally find in the woodlands produces more carbon dioxide, wait for it, than 1 million cars, quote unquote. Now, because of this mentality, it is now coming up that they're creating a program which is 50% of rainforests and woodlands are going to have the trees cut down to limit the carbon. You cannot make this stuff up. I just was shocked
So
when I heard this.
trees
I
are
was thinking,
producing carbon emission. How are they producing carbon emissions?
no, this is my guess, my estimate of all my joining days is this is part of your wind turbine program to clear land. This,
Mhm.
can you see what's happening here? Like
Mhm.
here's an area over here. It's a nice little rainforest. Well, we're going to have to implement the carbon reduction plan here. So we'll cut down 50% of those trees. Oh, by the way, which they will allow corporate, Indigenous corporations to manage. Well, who gets to sell that timber? Oh, the corporate management people get to sell
Oh
that
wow.
timber, which is, can you see what's going on? And
Yeah, it's rotten to its
from
core.
there, yeah, from there, those trees will go. And oh, look, there's a nice big patch all the way through the middle of this area. We'll put a turbine center in here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. So farmers, this is the narrative. Please don't put petrol on yourself and light a match. That's not what this conversation's about.
No.
This is
This is
about
about giving you
making you
information to
aware.
push back.
Yeah, I mean, and for everyone, if you think using another Visa card or an app, because it's more convenient, well, that's
Mm,
part of the problem. This is not about
yeah.
a convenience. But I tell you what,
No.
it'll be more inconvenient if you didn't have food and air to breathe properly. That's more inconvenient. So, so once your farm and your machinery and your bank account and your water rights, even your fertilizer, and if you're using, I don't know, some corporation microbial substance of some kind, which is probably mostly dead anyway, you're tied to
Mhm.
a digital ID. You've lost your
Mhm.
independence, and
Mm.
you don't have a say on what happens to that land. I just had a friend of mine who told me when he had a farm outside of Perth, he spent $20,000 to dig a hole, which was, I suppose, the beginning of a dam. Somehow, it was the council were alerted either by flyover or reporting, and they deemed that that would hold X amount of waters, and he was invoiced for the
The
deemed
rain.
amount. I'm talking about a hole with no water. And he got charged water tax on it. I just thought, well, this is what's happened. We've let this happen
Yeah.
and now it's just ridiculous. So we need to stop the
And
rot.
absolutely from the ground up. And so this is why the other day when I went, I tried to cover the local council candidates meeting where the candidates were brave enough to go out and have a face-to-face meet with the public. It went really well. There are a few things that hit the news that, they always, the ABC media propaganda machine always tries to put an ugly twist on things and take away anything that was positive. There is a lot of really good candidates that were really switched on about a lot of this stuff, that they're sick of seeing the everyday people just absolutely being ground down, that, they're worried about mental health, they're worried about homelessness, they're worried about all of these things. And there's quite a few that brought up, like the loss of basic rights on your own land, where councils are overstepping the mark completely, because they're being handed down this authority from federal and state government to implement at a local level, and instead of it being from the bottom up, sort of a feed of what's required and necessary to make our lives functional. So they're saying that they're starting to see now that there are a lot of people that are going into councils now that are ready to push back at this stuff, which I think is essential, because if we don't get good people in at local council level, we are hard up against it. So it's great to see a lot of, mayors, deputy mayors, councillors all starting to speak out about the hypocrisy of this whole thing, especially the green renewables and what that's doing. It's creating such an economic issue within councils that they're having to pass on those imaginary costs for carbon emissions. A tax. It's basically a carbon tax onto everyday people already. And it's like, enough is enough. This is crazy.
Yep. So the solutions to fight back this idea that these systems will be moved into carbon credits, compliance audits, which I know that when I was touring in South Australia, that was like all the farmers were in a spin because they're at the beginning of that. There's 1 or 2 legislations in Victoria that's being passed for farmers, and the second one is for backyards. So if you think, oh, this is for the farmers, I'm okay. No, it's coming to a backyard near you. And it may even come to a balcony near you. That's the obscenity of it all. So this isn't fiction, guys. If you're thinking I'm a nut job, no, I read things. I read the acts. I read things that come out of huge corporations like CSIRO, United Nations, WEF. I actually read it. I'm probably one of the few people who do read these things. I am not special at all. But I feel sometimes I'm the canary in the mine. I'm speaking out, and I think that there's a lot of people who just shrug it off and say, "Oh, this is not going to happen here." We've got our peak industry bodies looking after us. That's what you think. Oh, we've got the National
government
Party
look after us. Of course it will.
Of course, about like the national parties. Like seriously, guys, there's no one coming to save you. It's you.
No.
You have to start learning so you can save yourself. So as we're going back full circle, volunteer is you can volunteer your digital ID or not. You have a choice. I personally would be looking at something a little bit more helpful. We also need to know that you have more power than you actually think. If you can manage to get yourself out of the debt that you have with your big ag product range people, try and manipulate that, try and work that out. I would also be looking at getting onto some biological botanical growing right now. The reason being is if you've got a few rows or an acre out of 10 and it's producing high volume to help you offset the debt, because I know if you're tied up in contracts, you're not allowed to use certain things and you must be reporting. But hey, we're not an input. We are just life. We just put it back in the soil. It's just where it should have been. Nitrifying living soil microbes doesn't exist anywhere else. And if you just put them back in the soil, they will start performing for you because you're working with Mother Nature, not with a corporation. And they can't own them. And that's what we do. So we need to start looking at, let's revisit what's happening on the land. Let's regenerate that part that's been bastardized by a whole pile of chemicals and greenwashing, so much stuff out there right now. But look, let's go back to basics. Let's get some part of the farm that's actually doing work for you. And you know what? You don't have to tell anyone. It's all very fine. All you're doing is working with clean soil, chocolate brown, fertile living soil. That's all you've been doing. When you get that happening, start looking at how you can actually move into things like a private trust or, like everybody says, I don't really know what to do. We're always in a system. Yeah, we are. I always look at it like from this point of view, that if we've got, say, like our money right now, we're in a system. It's actually the Rothschild system, fiat money, and we've been living that way since basically when the 60s, more so is when we found ourselves in the currency that we've got here today.
Around the
but I think it's
Titanic time is where they started their plan, wasn't it?
something like that.
Titanic
But
was all
let's
about.
look at it from
Yep.
today. So this is a
Mm.
system, right? And then out of that system is blockchain. That's a system. And then out of that system, there's all different systems. You've got arbitrage. That's another system. There's all different instruments and all different ways. And I'll be passing on a booklet to Martine at Martini's Eco and Country Bites for any farmer who wants to investigate all of this further. I've been spending like nights to 2 o'clock in the morning for a long time to be able to do this research and find more, and even instructions on how to do. You can manage
Wow.
to move and manipulate the systems that you like. You can choose from. You don't have to be in the system. Am I being at risk here, Martini, saying all this?
No, not at
But the
all.
point is,
To me, it's
I'm trying to say to
also
people,
well, people need to understand that the same control, and it's a fear programming. So if you allow others to take control over your thoughts, your actions, and any sense of autonomy as a living being, and saying no, that doesn't resonate with me at all. That's not my truth. I'm not going to comply. Again, non-compliance. And the only way you can do that is through correct information. And that's why these conversations are so essential, because I'm having them with you, I'm having with Wade, with Billboard Battalion, and other people from around the world. And the same conversation is that if we allow the government now to take us over by this digital ID system, that when it comes to the next generation, they'll just be born into it. They'll probably be microchipped. And people go, oh, that's not true. It's like, well, if you've let them push you to the point where you put an experimental gene modification in your body, I'm not going to call it a vaccine because I wouldn't call it that. If you allowed that to happen, even though you didn't want to do that, then that was the decision you made because of the fear, the control system that was already in place at that time. So I think that was, that is step one of this control system. And now it's a case of, okay, so now they're trying to do the same to your animals and livestock. We already know they're trying to do mRNAs in cattle, especially. They've been doing that. So when people say, oh, that's not true, it's actually, that is true. It's already happening. And the more that you can investigate and educate yourself on and go and find out the facts for yourself, Bron has offered to pass on this booklet. So you can contact myself, and at any point that anyone's needing support on that, we can sort of confer through. If it's something above my pay grade, I certainly will go, hey, give Bron a call. And but people need to be pointed in the right direction, because they're like, if they need to go and find, oh, where is that legislation? This is it. Like you've just mentioned before, in certain sections, it's like, it isn't compulsory. Nothing is compulsory. It cannot be. It has to be informed consent. And so you have to consent to it, and that means it's voluntary. So don't consent. It's as simple as that. Just
that's
like
right.
if you
And
did
the reason
before,
why,
learn the lesson.
yeah, and they push that out to corporations to be the mouthpiece, the controller,
Mm.
the entity that
Mhm.
does all the dirty work, because that means then the government can't be, what's that
Held
word? Like
liable.
charged, yeah, liable. So, and look, seriously, guys, always be in a community. It's much harder when you're doing this on your own. Start having a barbecue down the paddock, invite your neighbours over and start talking about this. Now, if you're going to have a barbecue and you want to put me on a phone call, I'm quite happy to say, not a problem, let's book it in. I will answer as many questions as I can. I have a wardrobe of information for farmers. This has been my life's work, really, to push, to change the agenda. I've been as I said, I'm the canary in the mine. I'm just quietly getting on with my business, and I share this information because I'm interested in Australia. I'm interested in future-proofing our nation. That's my bottom line. I don't do it. I don't make millions of dollars out of all this stuff, I can tell you now. It's because I love my country. I am the great granddaughter of 4 light horsemen, uncles and grandparents. I'm an Anzac daughter. I've got roots in Bush Fire Brigade founders, whole pioneers. They've built whole towns. My great grandmother built Laidley west of Gatton. That's you all know Grantham that flooded out. That's right near there. And she built the whole town herself. I come from grassroots. My pioneering background and all of the goodness that my ancestors have done in this country for 6 generations, including bringing nitrifying living soil microbes to this wonderful, ancient, hungry, and thirsty land. It's in my DNA. I can't help myself, and I'm probably, yeah. And last thing I want to see is a farmer have a problem. And coming out of the Lockyer Valley, I grew up with farmers. They all were in the CWA hall with my grandmother, who was like president for 25 years on and off, president of the church society, you name it. We were in the front row. These days, we don't have that. We have screens. Screens are not going to be your friend. You need to find people in your local area that you can just say, mate, we got a problem. We're going to have to start talking this out, and throw half a cow on a backyard fire or wherever you are, and start talking. Get some help. The neighbours, the grower groups, all the different kinds of resources that you're going to need. Knowledge is a really big thing. Don't be worried. Fear not is what I keep saying in my talks when I go all over Australia. I always say, fear not. Where there's a way,
Exactly.
there is always another way. So even with the digital ID, I just want to wind back to that again, is many people signed up for the digital ID. Now, what I didn't
Not
realize,
me.
and I'm thinking I might be right here. I think the first lot was a beta, because I am in the understanding that Australia does not have the capacity for the volume of electricity it needs to generate and the data storage it's required. So I think the first one was a beta version, so that those who complied quite happily, like what harm could it do? You just need it for your government services, your pension and your ASIC and your ATO and whatever, right? What harm could it do? Well, here we are.
Yeah.
But what also happened, I feel, was that was a test case, because if you had to get a digital ID done today, that's a new one. You're actually setting it up again. So I'm thinking that the first one was a beta test case. I
Yeah, it's
actually
a
don't think
rollout test.
that's correct. Yeah. But I think
Absolutely.
there's a new one. Yeah.
And to
So
join those final dots, which is what we talked about a little bit earlier, is that so if we could take a step back just for a minute, and if people can think about, you need huge AI data centers to be able to hold this information. So just so you know, it's an immense amount of power it requires, and it has to be in locations that are easily protected, that kind of thing. So just so you know, this is how it's connected to the Marinus link. This is how it's connected to these green renewables. It's all under the guise. A lot of that energy is going to AI, and especially AI hubs. And it's all about centralizing this digital ID and having all of this information, all of this conglomerate of control, all under the same roof. And this is
yeah, and
why people need to join the dots.
and it's also gene storage. So they get your genes, your eyes. Hey, I often say, hey, did you see the Minority Report movie? I call that a documentary
Yeah,
now, because
it
if you
is.
can see that movie, that's where we are. That's like, I would place that as 2032. That's what I see. The way we're
Mm-hmm.
going, Australia is being pushed right now to be the next Ethiopia, alongside with Louisiana and the USA, because, and I'm going to put up an article on that in yourearthfood.com so you can understand why and how. And don't be surprised, because we're already on the trajectory of that. In the next 18 months, you're going to see a severe food shortage in Australia. If you're standing in Coles, Woolies and Aldi right now, and this is a fact, I'm not saying putting anything out on brands, but it's a fact. If you go out there now, you're going to see big holes in the fresh food section. They spread things out a bit, to fill out the shelves. Well, you're going to see, just stand there, and now in your imagination, take out 50% of what you're seeing. Well, it's really 40%, but let's say half, right? That's how much food is left for a population that's constantly on an increase right now. I don't know about you, but I don't know how I can shape this message any other way. These rules, they come in and they appear to change overnight. Well, we've been talking about this for a little while, but the first lot of digital ID is when it was declared in Parliament, the under 16 digital ban. It wasn't the fact that you're under 16, it's the fact you've got to prove that you're over 16. And see how they do this. Smoke and mirrors.
It's an introduction.
So this is where we are now. And this will also affect your Microsoft and Google. And I'm really believing that Meta is on the hot tail of that. As of December the 25th, is going to have a digital ID component to access the data that you paid for. And that includes your photos, your videos, your maps. And I'm sure if you're on a farm, you've got Wi-Fi gear in your tractor and it's connected to some kind of Microsoft or Google component, 110%, you will not be able to access that. So what do? Well, that's what this booklet is about. It's about how do you access your information. You probably have, I just realized the other day, Martine, I have been a client, I'm going to say, a client of Meta for 18 years. Now, imagine over 18 years, the habits that I've created, the patterns that I just do automatically, unconsciously, and what I'm expecting to find, who I'm expecting to find in Messenger. I just send them a quick text. I'll send a quick photo. My photos, my videos, my life. It's in those platforms.
Everyone.
And now I'm going to be locked out of my own data. Excuse me? How dare you? But don't worry. As I say, what do I say, folks? Fear not. Right. So fear not, because there's this booklet and it is Martine's in charge of that on her Martini's Eco and Country Bites.
Country Bites.
We have ways and means. We're here for you. That's why this program even exists, is because we're here for you. And we want to make sure that you get the right information. And even if you feel like, oh, I'm too bloody old to do this stuff, I don't know how to work, all I know is how to turn it on. Well, that's okay, because we have a support team that you can access. We also have military grade scramblers. We also have all kinds of things that we have connected with really good people to support you. I don't do that. I'm also in the same category. I will be calling those people and say, mate, I need help. But this is what I do know. I will know where I'm going, what I'm doing. I'll have an understanding. I don't need to have the brilliance to convert it all, but I know exactly, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Oh, and by the way, I'm getting out of shareholder banks. At the moment, I'm using membership banks, and I may even go into, you'll have to get the book. Sorry, I can't say.
Love it.
In a public forum.
Bron, all I can say, I love this. Again, I'm going to reiterate to our beautiful farmers and landowners, there is so much information to arm yourself with, not literally, but that has been an issue as well. But to inform yourself so that you can feel strong in your conviction and feel supported because you know where you're going, because this is the guidance that so many have been looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today, Bron. That's been amazing.
Love you lots and love you all. Look, just hang in there. Fear not. Let's just get resourced up. Let's just get ourselves organized into communities, get the information, and just take the first step. Right? That's the
Yeah.
first step. And if you need help, just contact Martine, and Martine and I will help you through, whatever it means. That's what we're here for.
Beautiful. This has been Edge Radio Australia, Martini, Eco and Country Bites. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, everyone.